Hi everybody, the Serial Stamper here from the serialstamper.com with a video that I am going to call Altered Medallions. So I'm going to show you how you will be able to get this multi-dimensional effect on your rosettes, and also how to create this adorable bell-shaped ornament as well. Okay, so the materials that I'm going to use to do this project will be the Stampin' Up! Designer Rosette Bigs die. And the reason why I'm using this particular die this time is because it cuts out two of the steps that we have to do when we're making rosettes. We don't have to do a border because those are already there, and we also don't have to make our own score lines because that is also provided for us with this die. And we're going to need the extended cutting plates to go with the extra large die, the Big Shot, the Stampin' Up! Envelope punch board. We're also going to need a glue gun, a silicone mat, and some adhesive. My adhesive of choice is Fast Fuse, but you certainly could use the Tombow. We're also going to need a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock or designer series paper. And we're going to cut that in half, so we'll have 2 sheets of 6 by 12, either cardstock or designer series paper. And a disclaimer here, they recommend using a crease pad on all dies that have areas where there are going to be scored lines. I do not have one. I have used this die repeatedly with just the cutting pads and I have not had a problem. But if you were to get this die or any other die with crease lines in them and you run into a problem, it would probably be because the crease pad is recommended. And I will leave a link for that item in the description bar underneath this video, along with the rest of the information, just in case. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut designer series paper just so that you will be able to see that it cuts and scores well. I have already cut just some regular cardstock, and you can see that the score lines are impressed very well. I have run the cardstock single sheets and double sheets, and it works the same. The cardstock is heavier, so you would expect that it would have a better impression. With the designer series paper, I always put 2 sheets because it is thinner than the cardstock, and I run it through the machine at least 2 passes. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to Connie Stewart for the tip on putting contact paper on the dies, because the dies come with solid black backgrounds. It makes it hard to see the designs that are on the dies. But if you put contact paper down and run it through the Big Shot, and pull the negative space off, then you will be left with the positive around any of your designs on your dies, making it much easier to see. And so that way when you need to cut something, you have guidelines that are a tremendous help. Alright, so I said 6 by 12. We have 2 sheets, and you will see that the die is larger than the paper. So we need to center our paper in between the cutting guides here. Okay, so we need a cutting pad, the die, our cardstock and just make sure it's even and straight here. And of course, when you're on camera, nothing wants to work as usual, right? Okay. So one, and then I'm going to back it up and go again. And I don't go too fast because I want the die to make the impressions. Now I will tell you that if you put too many layers on here with the cutting pad, what is supposed to be the score lines will actually make cuts. So you do need to be careful about how much material you put on here when you're using cutting pads. And also you will be, after you cut, since we use the half sheets of paper, we're going to have excess paper on the sides, and I told you to go ahead and cut your paper in half, and that way you would have this excess paper on the side, because I am doing a video on alternate use for the rosette Biggs die and how to make trim pieces with these scraps. So save those and you'll be able to use them for other projects. Alright, let me show you really quick that you can see these score lines are impressed very well on the designer series paper as well. Okay, so of course what you will do next is fold your piece. Now if you're using regular cardstock, you don't have to worry about which side you're folding. If you're using designer series paper, you're going to have a design on one side and a design on the other. So you want to make sure that you always have the same side up, and whichever side you want your what do you call it, the dimensional side to have the dimension on, that's what you're going to want at the top. So make sure they're both the same side up, and also that you start folding in the same direction. So if you started folding up on this one, start folding up on this one, and that'll make sense a little bit later, I hope. Okay, so like I said, you will next fold your paper. For some reason I have made a habit of just starting to fold mine down, and try folding it the same way all the time, so that way you will not ever be in a position where you can't remember which one you started first. Okay, so that makes a mountain fold. Then I'm going to go back, and that's the valley fold, and of course you will just do that back and forth all the way down the length of your paper. Okay, because the cardstock is much thicker, it gets a little bit more difficult towards the end. Okay, so now at this point, after I fold it, I'm going to kind of smooth it back out, because like I said, I'm going to be cutting it. We're going to be making the smaller medallions. I have made them the larger ones, the 10-inch ones, and you do get some of the dimension there, but it is much more prominent on the smaller ones. So I'm just going to show you how to make the smaller ones. So what I do is make sure that let me put this in frame here. I always cut on the rickrack side just because it's easier for me, but it really doesn't matter which side you cut, depending on which side you want to be bigger. I cut my first piece at 2.5 inches. So that means I just make the end point of the rickrack edge along the 2.5 inch line. So you just want to make sure your cardstock is flush with the guide down here, and I just use my 2 fingers and straddle the guide bar here to hold my cardstock flush down here, since it is folded and will tend to shrink back up. And then using my opposing hand to make sure the cardstock is flush with the 2.5 inch measurement here. And then use your thumb to hold your guide down. Let's see if I can get it to cut my piece here. Of course, it always will give you trouble while you're on camera, right? All right, so then you just cut your piece in half. So one side will be larger. One side is going to be 2.5 inches. The other side is going to be 2.25 inches, because the entire piece I said was 4 3/4. So like I said, you have to make sure your pieces are going in the same direction. In this case, they're going to the left. They're both going down. And so all I need to do is slide one piece behind the other, and these 2 pieces will have a valley fold and a mountain fold, and I will be able to put those 2 pieces together. And like I said, I'm going to be using fast fuse. Now, with designer series paper, it's a little bit more tricky, or delicate, I should say, than the regular cardstock, but this stuff is super super strong and super sticky. So if you don't anchor your piece and be careful, you will rip your paper. So fair warning. All right, so the trick with the fast fuse is to make sure you're about at a 30 or maybe 40 degree angle. Make sure your adhesive is here engaged on the edge. Place it on your piece, straight back, and then when you get to the end, make a check mark. Now let's see, I want to make sure I get all the way over and check. And then use your finger or something to keep your pieces separated until you have the exact placement you want, because once these 2 pieces stick together, they're going to be stuck. So you want to make sure that they're straight. And sticking to my fingers. Okay. And then we're just going to go ahead and bring the entire piece around and connect the other 2 ends together. And let's see, I'm going to put adhesive on this side. Bring it straight back and check. So you really don't need a lot of that adhesive. It is just nearly as strong as the double-sided tape. Okay, get it out of the little scallop section there. All right, and then since you flattened your paper out to cut it, just go ahead and reshape it and fold it, so that way it will have all of the mountain folds will be prominent, which is what we're going to need. You can let that go once you get to when it gets shortened, to need to punch, and they will be easier to find. Okay, so now we're going to bring in the envelope punch board. Zoom in a little bit. Alright, so I always take the flat edge, and I'm going to do my designer series paper since I have some of it cut already. So what we're going to do is take the flat edge and make sure it's facing the numbered guidelines here to the left. Let me see if I can zoom in some more. And this piece is 2.5 inches, so we're going to find a mountain fold. Do all of the mountain folds, not the valley folds, all of the mountain folds. Place it underneath the punch and go to 1 1/4 inches. So as you can see, this is 1 inch, 1 1/8 and 1 1/4. So we're going to 1 1/4, and punch. So you're going through 2 pieces, you're just going to have to give it a good punch. And you're going to go around the entire piece and just do all of, my table is kind of flimsy here, so it's not giving me enough of a solid background to make a punch there. So just go around the entire piece and make all of your punches on the mountain folds. So once you have done that all the way around, you're going to fold up all of your pieces again, just like you would do any medallion or rosette. Once we have our pieces all gathered, we will just come to our handy dandy silicone mat. Put your piece over your glue glob. And now you don't have to make these, put them all the way together and make them as small as they will go. You can actually shape these in any shape that you want to, and then you can have a larger medallion piece in the center. So that's how I got that oval shape for the medallion that I showed you earlier. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it, or you can just make it a wider circle. So even if you have smaller segments of cardstock and you wanted a larger medallion, just cut your center piece, whatever shape you're going to use, larger, and then just glue it in a wider opening, and then you can make a different size medallion there. So let me just go ahead, and I just have circles cut out for this one. I'll just put that on there, and then once your glue dries on the bottom, you can lift it off of your silicone mat. Now you can see that there's your dimensional side. And then just go ahead and put your bottom piece on, and then you could decorate it to your liking, or your event, or whatever your project may be. So you will end up with a regular side that is just a flat medallion, and then the other side will be a dimensional side. Let me see if I can get my piece here. That's going to aggravate me if it's not just. Okay, so this video has taken longer than I anticipated, so I'm going to be making a part 2 on how to make the bell ornaments. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have learned something new. I have snuck a 10-inch medallion in here, so I am going to have a link below this tutorial in the description bar for you to go over to my blog, and you will be able to get all of the product information and the measurements for the 2 smaller medallions, as well as the larger one, since we didn't get to go over this one in the video. Okay, well, I guess I'll see you next time. Bye now.